We have a saying around here.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, no brains, no headache.
Well, hello, boys.
What's up?
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Welcome to No Brains, No Headache podcast, episode 233. I can verify that this time. I believe last episode I kept saying it was 233, and that's true No Brains, No Headache fashion. That's the best part about having the show is when we do something incredibly dumb. It's like, well, that's what you get for listening to a show called No Brains, No Headache podcast. But we appreciate you being here. We got a good one, yet a quick one for you. My co-host, confidant, longtime friend, fellow comedian. His name is Matt Cleary. He's in Chicago right now. We'll talk about that. I'm Jordan Weichel, and I'm going to be your host today. And without further ado, let's get right into it. We're talking via Zoom, a little bit of a new way that we go about it this week. But with our busy schedule this week, this is the only way we could get it done. Matt, how the heck are you?
Doing well. Chicago's been a blast, but I'm pretty tired.
Yeah, I bet you are. And you're back on the sauce. How does it feel?
Uh, Not great right away. Like I literally was at the airport and had two beers and I was like, I can't do it. And I ate a bunch of soft pretzels and then, I got to CubsCon and that unlocked something in me and I had about 50 beers.
Okay. Was that first sip of the beer after the little break there? I mean, did you feel a little good about that?
Dude, I was literally scared. I was sitting in the airport just like holding a Bush Light, and I was like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't
It
know.
is a scary feeling. Like when I always come off of a break, it's like, well, I guess we're gonna find out if I truly am an alcoholic and have self control or not. Because things could get away from you, especially the
Oh,
tolerance starts dropping a little bit.
yeah. I don't think I lost a step in that because I had a million beers.
Well, I mean, hope you had a few for me because I'm off the sauce. I'm off the weed. I quit watching porno, and the only enjoyment I get in life is when I stand up too quickly and I get too lightheaded and have to grab a hold of something so I don't fall over. So here we are. But
Yeah.
yeah, episode 233. Matt's in Chicago at CubsCon. We'll talk about that in a second. But Matt, I've been pulling some shifts at the old liquor store lately, slinging booze. That's what I seem to do. It seems to be my calling in life. And there were some foreigners at the liquor store the other day. I didn't want to discriminate, but there's always a little bit of a hesitation, right? Because there's like a language barrier, and it gets awkward when you have to say what like four different times because they're asking for some obscure liquor or spirit that they have where they're from. But it's like this is Bismarck, North Dakota. But I
Yeah,
did it.
we don't make your mom's moonshine at this liquor store.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Your Uncle Ted, who has one arm, we don't make his moonshine here. So try again. But I didn't this time. I said, hey, is there anything I can help you with? And he said, no, we got it. They spoke some pretty decent English, and they said they're good. I said, hey, I'm happy to help if you need anything. Well, shortly after that, my boss and my coworker wheels a cart full of booze towards the back, and it's just a random assortment of stuff. And I noticed it was some of the beer that they grabbed. I'm like, what's this? What's going on? And my boss was like, yeah, I couldn't sell it to them. One of them was 18 years old. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Like, yeah, you can't come into the booze store with somebody under the age of 21, especially if they're 18. If they're a kid, there's some exceptions you can make, like, hey, you know what? You can't leave a kid in the car or whatever. But there are some exceptions. Rams just got a safety. I'm watching the game, so excuse my lack of focus. But yeah, there I was. I was trying to just be helpful. Hey, you know what? They may not be from here, but they know what they're doing. They did not know what they were doing. It was just an absolute fuck fest.
Dude, that's hard too, because there was one time like my college graduation, I had some college friends that were from the UK and his brother came over and we just went to a bar, let's call it Blarney Stone. And we drank there for like 6 hours and then we're leaving. We're like all pretty tuned up and go home. And I'm like, oh, Liam, it's good your brother came. He's like, yeah, he's 17. And I was like, what?
You're like,
Apparently just got grandfathered into the European drinking age, I guess.
they could drink so well when they're from like Europe or just somewhere else where they don't
Yeah.
really have like true drinking age laws. They could drink so well. So you wouldn't notice. But hey, we got a big one for you. So let's get into it. Episode 233.
No brains, no headache. Podcast.
How's Cubs Con going?
Dude, oh, it's over now, but it was really fun. Like the opening ceremony, there's like probably 3 to 5,000 people in a ballroom of a hotel room. We actually got pretty good seats for it, and it was just nuts. They announced like pretty much every single player outside the Japanese players were there, and like Sammy Sosa was back. That got a huge pop.
Yeah, you hit the year that Sammy Sosa. What did he do? Did he like apologize finally or say something where they're like, okay, you
Yeah,
come back now?
yeah, he basically like apologized. So just like, all right, you're back.
Sorry for corking my bat and hitting 66 bombs back in like
Yeah,
'03 or whatever it was.
yeah, and it was nuts. It like honestly though, CubsCon was super fun, but like the amount of kids there,
Ooh,
holy shit! Like they had a kids only press conference where they had like PCA, Bush, and like we're sitting in the back watching this, and literally every kid goes up to the microphone, and the only question they have is like, "Will you sign my baseball?" And they're like, "Okay, we'll just do it at the end." And they're like, "All right, for the autographs, we're gonna do them at the end, so stop asking it." And like 10 seconds later, a kid was like, "Will you sign my baseball cards?" And it's like, oh my god.
will you sign my mom's cans? Okay, we can make an
Yeah,
exception for
yeah,
that one.
we'll make an exception for that. But it was so fun. And like, you know me, I'm a huge Clark the Cub fan, and Clark showed out. I gave him a high five, highlight of my weekend, and he was on like the kids panel and was just a total liability.
Every time you talk about Clark the Cub, I immediately go to the scene in Saving Silverman where Jack Black's character just cuts through the gate and goes and hugs Neil Diamond and just gets
Yeah.
a restraining order.
Oh, that was definitely me. I was in the like it was weird though, because like I'm like, I'm gonna go get some food. I've had so many beers, and I'll go out there and there was like a big line for food. And I look over at the beer line, there's like one person in it, and I was like, well, this is happening now. And I just come back with 4 beers instead of a soft pretzel.
I mean, that's really any sporting event, whether it's the Cubs annual convention, Cubs Con, or you're at the game. You know, I remember when I went to the Vikings game a few weeks back, it was like, all right, I'm gonna go hit the pisser and also grab the max amount of beers that they'll give you, which is two. But I mean, I only have two hands, so
That's pretty much exactly what we did the entire time. And like the opening ceremony was so busy that like our seats were like in the middle of the row, and there was probably like a 20-person row. And so like every time you had to get up and like pee, which was a lot, was just like a disaster.
especially coming off your sobriety, I mean, you got to get back into it.
Well, and then one time I went to pee, and there's this kid in a wheelchair, and he's literally just barking at me.
Yeah, you
And
weren't making that up. Like he was legitimately making
but it was
barking
like
sounds.
it was like a high pitched bark. He was like,
Oh wow, I was thinking a way more aggressive kind
oh
of guard
no,
dog bark.
it was weird. And then I kept seeing that kid like ran. I'd like turn around a corner, and he'd be there. And I was like, this kid's following me. But like getting into that opening ceremony, there was like too many people on the fourth floor, and we were on the third floor. So they like stopped the escalator from people going on it. And we waited there for like probably 30 minutes, which was why we got a decent spot. But as we're waiting there for 30 minutes, the escalator is like still going and everything. But this guy with a fake leg who's fat as shit just goes, I got a prosthetic leg and can't stand anymore. And security just lets him through. And I was like, well, if you didn't lose your leg to diabetes, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Did you end up getting Derek Lee's autograph?
No, I literally left to get more beer at that point because I was in like this overflow. So it's like he might get to you. And I was like the first one in that line, but I was like, I don't really want to wait here for a half hour for a maybe.
Yeah, that's tough. But he was one of my during that era, kind of the early to mid 2000s. Derek Lee was definitely one of my favorite um Cubs. Okay, the Eagles got a safety and then immediately fumbled it because it is snowing aggressively in Philly. All momentum back to Philly, son of a bitch. And for a reminder why it matters, Matt has Eagles for his Super Bowl pick. I have the Rams, and I am in debt to Matt. So this one's a big one for me. But overall, would you recommend Cubs Con or just any sort of team's annual convention to any fan out there?
I would say yes, do it. I picked maybe the best year with Sammy coming back,
Yes.
but it's like one of those things that I'm not going to go every year. I might
Yeah.
go every 5 years, or like if they make a big signing, that would be really cool to see because it's pretty sweet. They have a bunch of panels where it's like 4 or 5 different guys up there, and the room's not that big, and you're just watching like Justin Steele talk about fantasy football for like 15 minutes. You're like, oh, great.
Yeah. Well, I even saw, I can't remember if it was Ricketts or Hoyer or one of the head honchies for the Cubbies earlier this week, prior to Cubs Con. It was some media press release statement where he's like, we're not done making moves yet. And it's like, no shit. I would say the same thing prior to my team's convention, but it's baseball. It's professional sport. You're constantly making moves. Like, what a
Oh,
blanket statement.
and they gave Ricketts the biggest softball. So he gets out on stage and like people are booing.
It's like
Myself
Goodell at the draft.
leading the charge of booing Ricketts. But then he goes into like, thanks Cubs charity. And so you can't be like, boo.
You piece of shit. Fuck the charities. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty
I
much.
mean, good on him. Whoever came up with that idea and his PR team, kudos to
Oh,
them.
yeah. Or they also did like the Sammy Sosa. The only thing really extra you had to pay for outside like merch and stuff was the Sammy Sosa meet and greet was $500, but it all went to a charity. And I'm like, I know they sold probably 300 or 400 of those.
Yeah, the Sammy Sosa, see if he's whiter than you picture photo booth. That's one of my
Yeah,
favorites.
Sammy Sosa does not look very white in person. He's a
black man. He's a black man.
He's a black man.
And please keep it down.
Yeah.
He's a black man.
For those of you who are wondering, that is Matt's sister, and she had a few sangrias earlier today. But we better keep it moving on. We do have a short one since we're on a limited time here. I finally went ice fishing for the first time in like 2 years. We're recording here in January. I'm in North Dakota, Matt's in Illinois, and just the upper Midwest. It's just what you do. And Matt, I don't know if you're aware of this, but when they have really any fishing tournaments, but this time of year ice fishing comes up. When they have these tournaments, like they give like first place, second place, and so on, certain prizes, rightfully so. You won the tournament. But in a lot of these tournaments, like first place is like a cash prize or a gift card or a trophy, like a trophy or a plaque. That's whatever. The older you get, trophies and plaques just don't mean anything. And then it's always like second place. It's like a brand new Ford F-150. It's like I kind of want to take second place.
Yeah.
Like what's with these ridiculous things where it's like, oh, and then down the line, it's like, oh, $300. Like, here's a new coat. Like, here's a new fishing rod. And then, like, seventh place is like a brand new jet ski. It's like, wait a minute. I should have taken seventh place. What is this bullshit?
That's kind of how ice fishing works, though. It's like, oh, grand prize of you spending 40 grand on equipment, $1,300. So if you come back for every year for the next 30 years, you will make your money back.
Yeah, or like there's some out of towners, and so they get their like name on a plaque that goes up in the corner of some dark dive bar, and it means nothing to anybody at the end of the day. But Have you ever been ice fishing, Matt?
Yeah, so I have, but the last time I went ice fishing, I literally didn't have a fishing license, so I just didn't fish. And the person I was with in my like ice hut thing, we had only one hole drilled for him, and then I just sat there with a 30 rack of Bush Light and just drank as many beers as I could.
Yeah, I did this completely sober, so it was a little bit boring, but I
You
did
sit here all day?
I pretty much did the same thing where right away I started fishing and then my fingers were froze. I spent the rest of the day thawing out my fingers. And at one point, I took off my boots and would just had them held over the heater. It wasn't even that. I mean, it was cold, but yeah, like I was fishing with my brother and my uncle Wayne Classic, and yeah, I would just every time they would catch like a decent fish, I'm like, oh, well, maybe I should pop one in. I was just cherry picking every time a decent fish came around.
I mean, that's what you got to do when you go ice fishing when you don't do it very often. It's
Yeah,
not fun unless you're just hammering fish or beers.
yeah. Well, and we were hammering fish, but they're all like way too small to even keep, which like can be fun, but after a few, it's like, okay, I've seen this song and dance before. I was like a little kid though. I brought like myself some water and a Powerade, but no snacks. So I was like, oh, what do you guys have for snacks in the cooler? I was just eating Chex Mix and having my feet propped over the heater. And yeah, they kept being like, "Can you turn down the heater? It's getting hot in here." And I'd like turn it down for like 5 minutes. And when they weren't looking, just back up to
Dude, at CubsCon, I went and sat at like the hotel bar for a second, and I was drinking a beer, and they put out like complimentary like Chex Mix. So I eat like the entire thing of it. The guy refills it, and then I start like sweating, and he's like, "You like the wasabi Chex Mix?" And I was like, "Uh,
this is a huge mistake. I'm gonna run to the bathroom, and watch
yeah."
my
And
beer.
yeah, it was. I mean, it was so good, but on like I was just pouring sweat at that point.
Yeah. Explaining the concept of ice fishing to somebody who's like not from America or like anywhere that's cold must be just a real doozy. But we better move on to our next one, Matt. What do you got for us?
So there's all inclusive resorts, and I was thinking about things that we should have all inclusive like anything that you're willing to pay the money for.
Yes.
So if there was an all inclusive strip club, just pay like $400, don't pay anything else. All inclusive grocery store, you spend
Let's
50,
back up to the strip club. I like that idea.
yeah, like I don't
Like
want
you
to
can get hand jobbed for a small fee of $400. I'm all for that.
yeah, and it's just I got 30 hand jobs in an hour. But like grocery stores, I feel like that could be like a thing. You pay like 20 grand for the year
Yeah.
and you just get groceries.
I think especially in this economy, you're onto something. It's almost like buying in bulk. Although can't you just do that with produce? You can't because it has to be, like fresh on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. But
Yeah,
I like as far as like butchering a cow and just throwing that in your freezer, is that kind of like an all-inclusive, like all-inclusive beef? I just bought a cow.
I mean kinda, but you run out of it eventually. So like all inclusive beef would be like you pay 300 and if you go through it, it'd be really hard to track. You'd probably have to have like a Filipino in your house that just like tracks everything you eat, make sure you're not giving it to someone else.
Yeah, I'm pretty stuck on the all-inclusive strip club idea. I
Yeah,
mean,
that was one of my better ones. Um,
but then the loophole should be like you can't choose your stripper, so you just get the old C-section scarred one, and you're like, oh, whatever. I've had a few mellow yellows. Let's get her done.
or Bertha,
Yeah,
Beth. Uh, Another one I was thinking movie
Beth.
theaters. Pay like 50, $100 and it's just all inclusive like beers because that's a limited amount of time and you
Yeah,
can't really take anything with you. So it's like, all right, I paid $50 to go to this 2 hour movie. I can just grab whatever I want.
I agree with that 100%. And like, yeah, I feel like you do see like certain dive bars in certain areas where it's like all you can drink for $10, but then
Yeah.
it's like the most watered down, oldest keg ever beer.
Yeah, that's what you got to go with, like bottled beer if you do that, and you'll still get diarrhea.
Yes, pretty much. I really do like the all inclusive idea. You know what's not all inclusive anymore? TikTok.
Woof. Yeah. Well, it's back now.
Is it actually?
Yeah, it's
I'm
just
so up and down. See, I don't have my personal TikTok. You're in charge of the podcast account. And so I don't even go on there. But I've been seeing so many reactions online. I had a tweet about it earlier. Follow me at Jordan Weichel, where it was like people are treating TikTok going down as if they lost, like somebody died, or as if they just ended like their Bon Jovi and it's their final like farewell tour and it's over now.
like
It's
you know
like
how many. It's
yeah,
there's so many people. There's so many people that literally made their living off of TikTok.
and I get that, but it's like first of all, you should have diversified like a long time ago. And there's so many other platforms for you to shake your tits on. Like,
Yeah,
you know, if you want to like do stupid little dances and wearing nothing, let me introduce you to something called OnlyFans.
yeah. Let me
Let me
introduce something called the Spearmint Rhino in Omaha, Nebraska.
yeah, let me introduce you to the all-inclusive deal of Instagram bikini models. Get all you want.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb. Like it was back like within an hour. I feel like that.
I don't. Maybe I'm just like my timeline is so old, but everyone I just keep seeing it, and it's like Bob Euchre passed away the other day. Rest in peace. You know, you see the memorial picture of, I think what was it like 19 whatever to 2025, and they post that like, hey, you know what? Let's pay homage. Rest in peace to him and his great work. People are posting that the TikTok notification you got where like it's down, and then I saw even one tweet, and I mean I try my best to not judge people's intelligence levels. However, when you're bitching about TikTok being shut down already and it's not the 19th yet, let me tell you something. There's called time zones, okay? And TikTok is in China. They're about 14 hours, give or take, ahead of us. So there it was the 19th. Here it was the 18th. Apparently, whoever, you know, in their upbringing and their education, they weren't taught that on the other side of the world, it is a different day.
Yeah, we're not the smartest people, that's for sure.
Yeah. And there's also these, like, I just love watching like streamers. Like, there's this one rapper, I can't even remember his name, but he just does the most ridiculous shit on his stream. And then there was one where like his like girlfriend or friend or whatever said something like mean to him or rude or like disagreed with him, and he pulled out a gun. And it's like, why are you watching these people on their stream? It goes hand in hand with TikTok. It's like, why are we watching these stupid things? Like, I get it, it's entertaining. And like, I saw another post where somebody was so upset because all of their information and all their educational resources came from TikTok. And it's like, do we not have anything better besides
Wikipedia.
TikTok? Yeah, like Wikipedia, even. I would take Wikipedia over TikTok probably. But if there's just not a better source, if your only source for news and recipes and stupid dances with your boobs hanging out is TikTok, I don't know. That just tells me there's something wrong with this world. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean the TikTok things, it's whatever. I mean, there's always going to be a replacement for it. Like Vine went away, people lost their minds.
I think now is the time. If MySpace was looking for a time to make a move, it's now.
Yeah, MySpace was awesome. I remember I had like a gerbil on my screensaver, and like
Yeah.
you pull up my page, and there'd be like a Linkin Park song
Yep.
playing.
Yeah, like Blink 182, Green Day. If you liked a chick and you're trying to plow her, you put her on your top friends.
Yeah,
So that's always fun. But we better keep it moving on. What else do we got there, Matt?
So my Temu ads are getting a little out of control. I know everyone gets them, but mine have literally nothing to do with what I do as an individual. Um, so here's currently my Temu ads.
Okay.
A portable camping toilet.
I think I've
I
seen that same one.
Yeah, I've literally like never been camping or planned to go camping. Maybe it just like sees that I poop my pants a lot, so they're like, maybe you just need to carry this portable toilet with you wherever you go.
What do you do with the waste? Does that stay in the toilet, or do you dig a hole, or what's going on there?
Yeah, I don't even know. I didn't get into it that much, but I was like, what in your mind believes you that I need this toilet?
I don't know if I want to be carrying around a portable toilet. It's called gravity. Lean up against a tree and just pray for the best. the old lean in hurl. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
the other one I got was like a bunch of Legos. And like to me, it's like, okay, get Legos, but I feel like that your phone's always listening to, and they're like, this kid probably has autism, so he likes Legos.
Yeah, I mean something must obviously it's like cookies and all this data. But yeah, I briefly glanced at hotels for my upcoming schedule this week. I had to get some lodging. The moment I went on social media after that, it was like, we have a hell of a deal for you. This hotel room is only $250 a night. And it's like, I don't know what your definition of a deal is, but that is not it.
Well, it's like I walked into the John Hancock building because we were going to go to the top of it, and it was like $47.
Everybody knows it's Herbie Hancock, but go
Yeah.
on.
I was like, if I'm paying $47 to go to the top of this John Hancock building, that's a one-way
I'm
trip.
yeah,
Like,
I'm I'm not taking the stairs back down.
yeah, I am taking the 106th floor exit, and I am plummeting to my death.
Oh look, he's flying.
Yeah, it's so funny though. You go in, there's like a shawarma, hibachi grill plate, a Benihana, and like a
Yeah.
Subway, and then it's like, you could go into the Benihana and probably get or a cheesecake factory too. It's like you can go get shit faced at the cheesecake factory, or you can spend $47 to go look out a high window.
Yeah. It's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's Matt just finally following through on
The
he's been warning us for years.
bird, it's a plane. Nope, 9/11.
It's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's just January 18th in Chicago. And Matt got back on the drinks and he's had enough.
Yeah. Another thing that I keep getting is children's dirt bikes.
Those are cool. I mean, you got to
Yeah,
have like a little two-stroke bike in your garage at all times.
I mean, I used to have a pocket rocket that I bought from China, and that thing I hit an open manhole cover and just destroyed it.
Did you go flying? We have 10 more minutes. That's good to know.
Yeah.
I kind of
Uh,
lost track of time there. Sweet.
yeah, I literally just hit that, went flying. And then like other things I get are log splitters. I don't need a log splitter or like full blown excavators. It's like, yeah, this is what I need for my backyard, just a huge excavator. Actually, I might need it. That tree needs to come down. But other than that, yeah, I got nothing.
I mean, and the funny thing about log splitters, because I do know this from personal experience, you can rent one for like a half a day or a day. And as
Eight,
long as you have the logs ready to go, you should be able to split enough wood to last you like years. Now, if you're heating your home, or perhaps you live in the remote wilderness in a cabin, maybe it might make sense to actually purchase a log splitter, but there's really no reason for it at all. And there's a good chance that this thing falls and chops off your fingers. Okay.
yeah.
So you buy a log splitter, you out a few $100 and three fingers. You go to the hospital. I mean, you're just going to go in debt just trying to split wood, which is not worth it. Trust me.
Well, it's like you could buy a drone on there too for like $8. And it's like it reminds me of the drone. I bought like this mini helicopter and one of my brother's friends just flew it up as high as it could go, and it lost connection. And then so we're just watching at my childhood driveway just fall 200 feet and just.
I immediately think of, you remember those like they weren't paper airplanes, but it was like a very light wood cardboard thing that would come in a pack, and all you do is put them together in certain spots. You know, like a Cracker Barrel novelty gift.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking is like a Temu drone. It's just like it is just paper.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I can't believe this $6 drone didn't work. It's like, well, no shit.
I think we can believe that. Yeah, the Temu ads. I mean, I see them all the time, and I'll fall into the trap. I'll go on like Facebook Marketplace looking for something very specific, and then I'm like, oh wow, this is a nice chair. Click on it, and it's like Wayfair or Temu. It's like, I thought I was looking at some random person's basement and they just did a really nice photo shoot to get rid of this chair. And it turns out I have to wait for this to come in from Indonesia. So,
Yeah, my brother ordered a couch on Wayfair and it just never came. And they refunded them. You know, you get those like every week you get an email that's like their ad email, like a junk email. And he just kept replying to it. Where's couch?
where is couch? Not even proper grammar or English, just couch. Couch question mark?
I was like, Sean, there's fully going to be a couch that shows up to your house in like 10 years that's just sopping wet because it fell into the ocean or something.
Yeah, and the homeowners at the time are like, sweet, a free couch. Sean's just out a few $100.
And a shitty couch.
Oh, that's ridiculous. All right, Matt, do you have your rundown in front of you?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
so
looking at it.
you know me, I like to put up these maps of the United States. Thankfully, this one doesn't have Alaska and Hawaii, which is I think is funny. Because the last one Matt and I did was the most famous brand from each state. North Dakota was Bobcat. I remember what was Texas again? I can't.
Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, Texas was Dr. Pepper. Arizona was like Best Western. California was Apple, things like that. Well, this one I saw, and once again, the algorithm, whether it's Temu ads or favorite things across the state, this is the favorite burger chain in each state in America, at least the lower 48. For starters, it makes me entirely too angry that North Dakota's is McDonald's. How can anybody be McDonald's? I know they started as a burger chain when they were first coming into business way back in the day. But have you had a McDonald's burger? Don't get me wrong. I'll hammer one down every once in a while, but
what's better?
What's better than McDonald's?
In North Dakota.
Literally every other thing. Five Guys, Culver's. I would argue Burger King, if Bismarck's Burger Kings weren't ran by one-armed crackheads who blew their arm off with a homemade pipe bomb 15 years ago.
Let's not shit about Andrew. He was a nice guy.
McDonald's doesn't make any sense to me. Minnesota looks like Shake Shack, South Dakota, Wendy's, Montana, Five Guys. See, Five Guys is good. I did see a funny tweet the other day. It's like, hey, I love it when my family likes to go to Five Guys if you don't enjoy having $72 anymore.
So is Michigan's Wingstop?
No, that's Shake and Steak and Shake. What the fuck is it called?
Yeah, I've never been there.
What is it? I had to look it up earlier because I can't see it. Like it gets blurry here. Hold on.
Yeah, I thought it was Wingstop, but
Steak and Shake, is that a thing? Am I saying that correctly?
Let me look.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Anne, for the confirmation. I do love how you have like, once again, the geography is tough here, but I think is that North Carolina? Yeah, North Carolina and Pennsylvania have Smash Burger, and Illinois. Hey, you're in Illinois, you're going to a Smash Burger.
Is live in Illinois.
Yeah, but I would disagree. Like I remember I had a Smash Burger. It was like they smashed it too much. There was barely anything left.
I love how Maine and like a lot of the north,
Smashburger is Smashburger, sort of.
a lot of the Northeast is Burger King, which is very unsettling.
Honestly, once again, the BK Lounge in Bismarck, Mandan area, not great. And we got to wrap it up here because we're running out of time. But growing up, Whoppers were fantastic. I thought Whoppers were some of the best out there. But I will say Culver's is the best. In and Out, I'm going to give In and Out probably the nod. However, they do have strict rules on where they have yours. What's your favorite, Matt, real quick?
My favorite location here, my favorite burger, I would probably say is probably Five Guys. In and Out, if it's there, is better. But I love that Hardee's is in Wyoming, and I'm pretty sure that's just because of default. It's the only fast food restaurant that they have.
Besides Taco John's, remember, famous brand from each state. Wyoming had Taco John's. But I'm sorry to cut you short, but we just have a quick one here this week. So thank you guys so much for listening. Upcoming schedule this Saturday at the Bell Mayhus Auditorium. We have Tommy Brennan, Andy McCluskey joining us on this upcoming Tuesday. When the show comes out, I will be making an appearance on I Woke Up for this podcast, so feel free to check that out. Also be on Studio 701 Wednesday morning. And then, yes, Saturday is the big show. February 8th, we have the Roast of Cole Pick. And then February 22nd, we have Bethany Ablin and Nathan Rowe, who have made it to the finals for Fargo's Funniest Comics. So we got some really good ones lined up for you. We drop episodes every Tuesday. Matt, how can our listeners get more involved?
Yeah, you can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram,
TikTok?
and TikTok. YouTube, you can watch the show too. And then, leave us a review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. It helps the algorithm out. So,
and thank you so much for listening to episode 233. I can say that with confidence. Next up, we have episode 234. Thank you so much.
You're watching Channel 4 News with 5-time Emmy Award-winning anchor Ron Burgundy and Tits McGee.
Good evening, San Diego. I'm Veronica Corningstone. Tits McGee is on vacation.
I hate you.
And I'm Ron Burgundy.